My next guest, oh, trust me, he is real happy today after massive pickups last night in the Virginia House. 2 years ago, there was a narrow victory for House Democrats in Virginia. Don Scott, as a result, became the Speaker of the House. Well, this time ain't narrow at all. Some of the biggest pickups in more than 40 years, solidifying his role as Speaker of the House. He joins us right now. Don, first of all, congrats. You got to be feeling real good.
Man, if you had my hand, you'd cut yours off. I'm feeling real good.
You know, there were...
I was just going to say, we did something historic last night. This is the first time in 3 decades that Democrats in Virginia's House of Delegates won back-to-back elections. We grew our majority by 13 seats from 51, slim majority, 51-49, to a 64-36 seat shellacking. And so I think we're in a very, very good place right now.
How did you do it? Because let's be real clear. 2 years ago, you had a whole bunch of people in Virginia questioning your strategy, telling you they knew what was best in terms of how to win the House. And even after you squeaked out the narrow margins last year, they were still trying to tell you how it should be done. And one of the things that you kept saying is, and which I was just talking about, is focus on your base voters and drill down as local as you can.
Well, what we did was, you take a look at our caucus, the folks that won. It's probably the most diverse set of folks ever. We got rid of this outdated notion that minorities and women couldn't win in these districts. We stopped looking at identity and started looking at the people, whether they connected to the community. We have 5 new members of our Black Caucus, taking us about 37 members in the Black Caucus out of 140 members. We focused on getting women into the caucus. We focused on the communities that have been loyal to us and that we stay loyal to them, but we also expanded our base and talked to everybody. I try to tell folks that Black people, Asian people, Latino people, they want the same thing white people want. They want good jobs, good schools, and they want to make sure that they're being heard and that their dollars are being invested in their communities the same way that everybody else does. And when we won that narrow majority 2 years ago with Joe Biden in the White House, and in Virginia, his approval ratings were similar to what Donald Trump's approval ratings are now. We ran last time with a headwind blocking, keeping us from going where we needed to go, but we won. We were running with Governor Youngkin was at a 55-56% approval rating, and we were still able to win because we drilled down and focused on those individual races and individual communities and got the majority. This time, with Donald Trump in office and the chaos, confusion, and cruelty that he's chosen to go forward with, we had to win at our backs, and we were able to communicate with folks that we cared about affordability, wanted to make life better for Virginians, and Virginians, they trusted the Democrats to deliver. And you saw in almost we targeted 14 Republican-held seats. Last night, we won 13 of 14 Republican-held seats, and the 14th is still not decided. It's still counting ballots. It's unheard of. It's unprecedented because we ran a very disciplined, military-style campaign. My campaign co-chair is an Army guy. I'm a Navy guy. We ran a campaign that was focused on discipline, that was focused on turnout, that was focused on communication, and we overperformed because we out-communicated them in every single race, sometimes 2x, 3x, on TV, on radio, on digital. That's what we did, and that's how Democrats have a blueprint to move forward through this next cycle.
There were races you lost last time. Take Kimberly Pope Adams, 53 votes last time. What did you then do? Did you go back and say, look, let's figure out where we lost. Let's figure out the people who didn't turn out. And did y'all really sit down and study this thing precinct by precinct to understand that, you know what, we need to hit this area a lot harder to turn out, because she didn't have a close victory this year?
She sure didn't. And that is exactly what we did, Roland. In 2021, in 23, when she lost by 53 votes. And we thought we did everything that we needed to do to get the Black community out, but we didn't. We went back, we looked at those precincts, where our black turnout was low. We looked at those precincts where some of our marginalized communities were low. And this time we were laser focused on hitting them over and over again and letting them understand what was at stake. And her turnout improved drastically in those communities. And then she had a resounding victory. I thought it was a privilege last night to be able to call her and tell her that she had won. I was the first one to call her to say, you have won in our numbers and our modeling. You will win this election. You can call it. And you just heard screaming because she has been running for 4 years. And the type of relief and satisfaction that she had was amazing. You got to spend some time with her. She's an amazing young lady, and we're proud to have her in our caucus.
Well, see, the reason I asked that, because this to me is the mistake that I think people keep making. I spoke to the National Panel Council on Friday in Houston. And what I said to them is, I said, can we please stop doing these broad get out the vote efforts? I said, we need to go get the data. I said, I don't care what city and what state, and break it down by precinct, then break it down by block, street, house. I said, if we're just going out there saying, hey, get out the vote, we want y'all to vote. I said, no. I said, you got to look at and say, where the vote's at? What do they say? I forgot the bank robber. Why do you rob banks? He said, that's where the money's at. Well, you got to go. You got to go where the votes are. You got to go. If you lose, you got to go where the potential votes are to win next time, and that means having a very micro strategy.
Absolutely, and I think that's what we focused on this cycle. We did it last time, but the votes weren't there. The enthusiasm was there, and we had a headwind. This time we had a tailwind. Abigail Spanberger had an unprecedented field operation. We had an unprecedented field operation, and together we outperformed Abigail Spanberger in many of these districts that we won last night because we were so laser focused on the communities that we needed to turn out that were heavy Democratic but who had felt disconnected. We reconnected with them and got them to turn out. That is how you continue to win elections. You have to do data-driven messaging. You have to do data-driven get out the vote field operations. It has to be data-driven. And I think if we continue to have the type of discipline that I think it takes and recruit the candidates, stop focusing on the perfect little candidate, focus on people who are connected to their communities, whether they're Black, white, Asian, Latino. Focus on those folks that are connected to the community, that have a heart for service, that have the empathy to serve, and the leadership and discipline to do the work. The next thing that we did, Roland, which I think should be a model for every state delegation, we sat down with candidates. We recruited very early, 2 years out. I'm going to be recruiting for 27 starting tomorrow. We're recruiting. We're going to go and try to grow our majority. And what we did was we talked to every candidate, said, here's how many doors. Every candidate knocked over 5,000 doors themselves, not paid field, not people, the candidate knocked doors. We made sure they raised them. We gave them the resources to raise money. We gave them the time to do call time. We gave them the money that we raised to supplement what they did so that they could be free to continue to knock doors. We have a formula here. We have an MOU that we make every candidate sign. You can't get our resources. You can't get our help if you don't agree to the contract that we need to make sure that you're going to hold yourself accountable to run the type of race that we know if you do these things, you win. And last night we proved that formula. If you do those things, you win. Did I expect to win 64 seats? No. My goal was I at least get 55. But we ran so hard in so many places. We basically ran the slate, which is unheard of anywhere in the country. And I think the Democrats across the country can learn a lesson from what we did. We were bold. We were not mealy-mouthed. We were bold about what we stood, and the voters rewarded us for that boldness.
A couple of years ago, you mentioned earlier in terms of the multifaceted strategy. And a couple of years ago, I'm not going to name them, but you had some big name Democrats who questioned advertising on this network and doing town halls. And man, why are you doing that? And because they're so fixated on TV, run TV ads, thinking that's it. And we saw this even with Vice President Kamala Harris. Democrats ignored podcasts. They ignored digital shows. They were not aggressive. They weren't spending money there. They weren't understanding that people no longer are getting information the exact same. Talk about why national Democrats, or candidates who are running in other parts of the country, have to understand that the landscape has now changed, and you have to put money in places that you don't think may get you the biggest bang for your buck. But again, when elections come down to 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 votes, that stuff matters.
You know, a lot of the technology that we're using now, which is why I'm so happy to be on your show tonight and why I love working with you, you know, and talking to you and making sure that folks know, because like last night, I'm getting calls. People are watching your show last night in North Carolina and Texas and freaking my wife's family in Chicago. They're texting and calling me, watching you, and, you know, and hear you speaking about. And what we need to do is understand there's a thing where we're using this technology to geofence. We know who's watching what when. And there are communities that are going to only watch Roland Martin. They trust Roland Martin. There are communities that may be doing, you know, other podcasts, maybe doing other. We want to make sure that we're speaking everywhere. And I think it's a mistake. It's a huge mistake not to be partnering with every platform that you can to get out your message. And I think you have to be intentional about that. And you know, I'm very intentional. You know that. And I cut through the red tape and make it happen. And I think that's why, another reason why we were successful, I think that's why we won in 23, because it was very slim margins. Every vote counted. As you know, we lost about 50-something votes and we won some by slim margins. And this cycle, we overperformed because we reinvested in those same platforms. And then we got the returns for those investments. And that's why you see a 64-seat majority here in the Commonwealth of Virginia.
You're not quiet or shy. And do you plan on having some very frank conversations with the Democratic Governors Association, the Democratic Senate Campaign Committee, the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, to say, hey, y'all better sit down and listen and understand how we did this and how this can be replicated on the state and the local, the state, and the national level as well?
Well, I'm not going to tell them to sit down and listen, Roland. That's a Roland Martin.
No, you should. You should, because again, somebody needs to tell them, hey.
I'm trying to be a good example, and I'm hoping that results will speak, and I'm hoping that folks will ask, how did you get these results? Can we replicate them? And if they do, and if they ask, I'm going to tell them, and I will lay out the plan and how we need to continue to reinvest. We're going to continue these partnerships. We're going to continue these investments in and out of season, not only when there's election time, but when there's not an election. We have to continue to do that, and we continue to build credibility in communities that trust some of our messengers, and you're one of them. And so I just want to make sure, I just want to thank you for having this platform, this vision to do what you're doing and take the risk that you take every day. People think that it's easy. You're really a small business that's growing into a large business. And we really want to thank you for what you've done. And we got so many other partners out there similar to what Roland Martin is doing. And we have to continue to invest because you're speaking to the community that we want to continue to keep engaged and that had been at some point, you know, the black people came out last night. Let's be clear.
Huge.
We came out last night and we overperformed. The last number I saw was 92.8. Abigail Spanberger, think about this, outperformed Kamala Harris. We outperformed Kamala Harris in Virginia last night. And I think that's because people said, oh, heck, this dude is crazy. He said he was going to lower prices. He lied to us. Everything has gone up, from the cost of housing to childcare to housing supplies to restaurants, food. Everything has gone up. Healthcare, we can't afford it. Everything is going up. We have to have a change. And we wanted to make sure that we had given people the permission structure by communicating with them, to give them the permission structure to come and vote for us. And that's what we did. We created an environment where people will feel good to come and vote for us.
Last question before I go to my panel. The sense that I also got with what took place in Virginia is somebody made it clear to the consultants, I want to need y'all to back the hell up and let the candidates take center stage and let them be authentic and let them be themselves and stop trying to send out robots who are saying the right thing, the perfect thing, and don't want to sit here and go left or right. Because that, to me, I believe, has been the biggest problem for the Democratic Party nationally over the last decade, the control of the consultants on every facet of campaigns.
Yeah, I mean, when I took over as the minority leader in 2022, after only been in office period for 2 years, the first thing that I said was, this is crazy. We have consultants that they don't ask, what do you need? They ask, how much money do you have? And we'll figure out how to spend it. Like they always ask, what's your budget? They wouldn't say, what do you need? And so I totally revamped our consulting program and how we did things, made everybody do RFPs, come back and tell us what you can do, not how much money we have, but what do you need for us to be successful? Then we spent a lot of energy getting the right candidates. And I think that's what we've been able to do. I'm hopeful that other folks will model this. You don't have to do it the old way. You can do it differently. In fact, I'm going to redo my RFP process. I'm going to make everybody come back and rebid again.
Boom.
To work with us in 2 years so I can get fresh blood. People get comfortable. We all do. We need to make sure people still understand that they need to be hungry. We need to have cutting edge. We need to have cutting edge thinking. And so I think if we do that, we continue to grow and be fresh in whatever the challenging environment might be politically.
Questions for the panel. Rebecca, you first.
Thank you so much for being on the show tonight. So I want to talk about voting rights restoration in Virginia. We saw this past session that there was passage on the constitutional amendment in Virginia for automatic voting rights restoration. I understand there has to be a second reference, meaning it has to pass again in the next session, and then that can go to the ballot for fall 2026. Can you tell me why it's so important to have automatic voter registration in the state of Virginia?
Automatic voter restoration. So yes, I had my own rights restored, and I had to beg the governor to do it. There's nothing about my background that says I should be here. I should not be in leadership. I'd gone to federal prison, 31 years ago. And here I stand as the first Black Speaker of the House here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And I did 8 years in federal prison almost, and folks told me my life was over, and I just didn't believe it. And I think I was, coming out, I'm paying taxes, I'm doing everything, but I can't vote, which is ridiculous. I'm paying, in some instances, I was paying, $1 million in taxes, but I can't vote. Think about how ludicrous that is. You're contributing, you're taking care of your family, and you don't have the franchise to have a say in your future. Everybody deserves to have a franchise once they complete their sentence. That's what this constitutional amendment would do, so we can have everybody vote. And that's why we're going to pass this, and we're going to get it done. Because there are too many people who feel disconnected from the system. They feel they're walking around with their heads down. Family know that they can't vote and can't engage and can't let their voices be heard. Every American that's paying taxes, that's contributing to society, deserves to have their voice heard. And that's what we're going to do here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And it's going to pass because it's popular. People know it's fair and it's right.
Niambi?
Yeah, so congratulations on last evening. I mean, that was quite a feat. But one of the people that didn't get talked about as much was Ghazala Hashmi. So how do you encourage more Ghazala Hashmis? I mean, it's certainly clear that women in leadership is something that Virginians have an appetite for. So how do you expand that?
I mean, congratulations to Ghazala Hashmi. She did a great job. She served as a state senator now. I've worked with her for the last several years. She was able to pull it off. I think if you look at the leadership that was affirmed last night, it's probably it's not probably. It is the most diverse leadership group in Virginia's history. A first female governor, a first Muslim American lieutenant governor, and first African American attorney general. So there was a night of first for Virginia. I think seeing Ghazala Hashmi in that role is going to encourage others to step in and know that they can do it, that if they're competent, if they're smart and they work hard, they can achieve anything. And so last night was proof positive that, this whole anti-DEI stuff, we don't care about no DEI. We are excellent. We're going to continue to rise. We're going to continue to shine. And cream is always going to rise to the top. You can try to beat us down, but we're going to rise to the top. And I think last night was an indication of that.
Cameron.
Congratulations, Speaker Scott. Last night was huge in Virginia. I live in D.C., so seeing our fellow state down there, and to your point, the diversity of the top of the ticket. But I was energized by your exchange with Roland earlier about how you went about identifying new talent, identifying new tactics, and pairing that to the right types of candidates. How do you, the rest of the country could learn from this? And as the owner of a digital and an ad firm for the last 15 years, I recognize when wins happen, sometimes the best lessons are not learned. Do you plan to do more learnings or teachings with other states, other candidates, other caucuses? Because they really, Roland mentioned it earlier in the show, we really got to learn from how people really engaged and really study these campaigns, both study the candidates and study their messaging, but also study their strategies and tactics on how we communicate it to all voters.
Yeah, I thank you for that. I'm going to continue. Every opportunity I get, I try to give people the blueprint on what we did. It's not rocket science. I try to tell people, hit the easy button, bro. Hit the easy button. Like, you get the right candidates, you go out and recruit you spend the energy up front. You put the investment up front on identifying the right candidate in the community, then making sure that they have all of the tools around them to succeed. And then you help deliver the messaging and do it across, I call it asymmetric messaging. Like, you hitting everything, digital, TV, radio, doing what you can if you have the resources. And then you plan in advance and you map it out. I think, I told my caucus today, everybody was celebrating, and I said, cool, let's celebrate. But the election for 27 starts today. So that means everything that we do, we have to be intentional. What we pass, what policies we pushing, what we want to message. It began today for the next election in 2 years. If we continue to have that type of discipline and focus and, dare I say, restraint, we'll grow, and we'll keep it. Make sure. I want an enduring majority. When we won the majority in 2023, I said, if you don't do it twice, it's a fluke. Well, I proved it's not a fluke. Now I want an enduring majority, which means, we can continue to grow. We can hold on to this majority. I want to win the governor's mansion in 4 years. I want us to keep that governor's mansion. But you have to be intentional right now, thinking about what it is, what's that look like. And that's what I'm trying to focus our caucus on and focus our leadership team. And I'm happy to have those conversations with everybody. I do talk to leadership across the country, and I do say these things, but, I can only control my house. I can't be controlling other folks' house. It's hard enough to control my house.
All right, then. Well, again, congratulations. Huge pickups last night.
06, baby.
Absolutely. Well, that's how alphas roll. That's how we do it. These little sigmas and omegas run around here. They don't know. All right. Big and Scott, well, appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
All right. Love you, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase, and I'm here with a very important message. We are at a turning point in the Black community where we must have equity in the apps we use that scale to billions of dollars. But this time, we own the infrastructure, we own the culture, and we shape the future. And Fanbase is the future. Fanbase combines the free functionality of Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube into an all-in-one platform built for the evolution of social media and monetization. With over 1.4 million users, that's real proof that we are shifting the conversation of tech ownership and equity for creators. So right now, I want you to go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. The minimum to invest is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $665 a share. This marks a turning point in Black ownership of social media. If we don't take this opportunity to own social media right now, we will always be customers to our own creations. And that can't go on. So once again, go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. We must own the platforms where our voices live, our stories matter, and where our culture drives the world. Thank you.